Hi, I'm Jenny.
Hi, I'm Matt.
So have you always known you were gay?
Yeah, I don't know. Probably. I kind of tried to deny it when I was younger, but probably.
I'd say that I didn't really realise until about 4 months ago, but now that I look back, I probably actually realised when I was about 12.
I did used to look at boys, and I think a lot.
So how old were you when you found out? Or like, known?
I don't know. I suppose I came to terms with it. I remember thinking, one really depressing point when I was younger, being like, oh, I'm gay, but I'll just sleep with women for the rest of my life, it's fine. And then probably when I got to like 15, I was like, nah, own it, I'm gay, it's fine.
So when you were younger, did you only think that because of like society issues?
Yeah, I went to quite a conservative private school, so it was really like sort of like stay with girls, you'll be unhappy if you're gay.
So when you realised, how did you come out? Was that, did you just do it gradually, or did you just be like,
Jenny's
okay?
story's better for this one.
So I came out to some of my close friends first, but kind of quite gently said, you know, I've been thinking, because I was in a relationship with a man at the time. So I told a few of my closest friends that I was having these doubts about whether or not I could be in a relationship with a guy. And then came to the realisation that I couldn't, so obviously told my boyfriend first. And then after we'd split up, told the rest of my friends, and then eventually my parents. But the rest of my family still don't know.
How did your parents take it?
A lot better than I thought they would. When they found out that I was bisexual, which was how I identified before that, they were really, really upset about it. So I was really concerned that they might actually disown me when they found out. Obviously, it was really difficult for them. I think they kind of transferred a lot of their negative feelings about it into being really upset that I'd split up with my ex-boyfriend, as we've been together for 7 years. They got on really, really well. But now, actually, kind of a few months on, they're being quite accepting of it, which is really, really nice.
You've been so patient with them though, you've been so level-headed.
I think I'm having thought about it since. Having LGBT child in a way kind of requires quite a lot of coming out on the part of the parents as well, in the sense that they now, you know, for the rest of their lives, when people ask them about their child, they're going to either have to, you know, cover up the gender of whoever I'm with, or they'll have to, you know, tell people close to them, oh, actually, you know, my daughter identifies as a lesbian. So I do think it is important to acknowledge that it is a massive change for them as well.
My parents definitely took time. Like, looking back, they weren't great to begin with. But yeah, like you said, like coming out for the parents almost, like, I appreciate it was a learning curve for them as well, as much of it was for me. So, I don't know, I kind of get them a bit more now. I understand them a bit more.
So what did they say? Were they in shock, or did they have a suspicion, do you reckon?
I never really came out to them. They walked in on me having sex with one of my boyfriends. So my mum did. I was kind of like, oh yeah, like, now you know. But apparently one of my mum's good friends made a bet with her when I was 7 or something that I was gay. And she came into my room one day and was like, your mum owes me 50 quid. So she must have always had something going around in her mind. But
Do you reckon friends and family reactions, were they different or the same?
I don't really come out to my family that much. I don't really come out to anyone.
I'd say that, I don't know if this is true for you, but most of my friends have been really, really good about it.
Yeah, oh god, yeah.
A lot more so than I was expecting. I thought that, obviously I knew that most of my friends weren't homophobic, but I expected, I don't know, just maybe a slight kind of change in my relationship, especially my relationships with my close female friends. But I haven't really experienced that at all. I've actually thought that the only people who have had, who've maybe slightly changed towards me have been my straight male friends, which was surprising. But ultimately I'd say that everyone's been
You're a mate.
accepting.
You're
Yeah.
not a target.
Do you reckon there's different stigma attached to being lesbian than being a gay male? Do you reckon they're very different?
Yeah,
Yeah.
massively. I mean, you've got the stereotypes of the gay man and the lesbian, but I don't know, a lot of the time the gay and lesbian worlds, I don't know, you might disagree, don't get on with each other.
Yeah.
And it's weird, but...
Yeah. I think especially in Brighton, the kind of general lesbian community feels that a lot of kind of LGBT events can often get really, really dominated and taken over by gay men, which creates kind of quite a lot of hostility and opposition.
Which is weird when you think about it. It's
Yeah.
like we're in the same boat.
Yeah,
Kind of stuff. But then at the same time, you don't necessarily have a lot in common as well, because as being a gay man, you're a man who likes men. Being a lesbian, you're a woman who likes women. It's almost complete separate. That's why, yeah, I don't know, it's weird. Oh, it's true of any sort of like queer identity. Often it's, and the same with, I don't know, sort of first wave feminism was about the white, the rich, and obviously not with feminism, but with LGBT, it's about the guys of it. So yeah, I mean, there is a need for more inclusivity, but it's weird because obviously we do have so much in common as well. Like we are,
And kind of ultimate similar aims about
yeah,
you know,
equality.
exactly.
Yeah, that's all we want.
So it does seem a bit ludicrous at
Yeah,
times
yeah.
that there is kind of so much hostility against, you know, two communities which are ultimately working towards the same things.
Yeah,
I think we were saying as well that in terms of like the lived experience being different of a gay man and a gay woman, the fact that mainstream culture really fetishizes same-sex female relationships in a way that it doesn't for men. I don't know what your experience would be, but I'd say especially from speaking to straight men, there can often be kind of a reaction which makes me quite uncomfortable of kind of that expectation of kind of a real like interest in like a woman's kind of sexual experience if they're in a relationship with another woman, which I'd say most straight men would probably react quite differently to those
I mean, you hear so many
conversations.
horrible things like, oh, she just hasn't met the right guy yet. And it's like, oh no, like maybe she just identifies as a lesbian. It's all the idea like, oh yeah, two girls together is hot for a straight guy.
As
But,
if,
like,
you know...
it's weird because you're not invited to that party. Like,
Yeah, exactly. And as if kind of your sexuality is still being carried out for kind of, you know, masculine enjoyment as
Male
opposed
gaze,
exactly
yeah.
as opposed to, you know, you making a decision about kind of how you want to, you know, navigate your...
Which I'd love it if a guy would want to watch me have sex with another guy. Unfortunately, doesn't. It's not so into it.
So do you think because the two communities don't get on that damages, like striving for gay rights and things like that, that it can really...
I think maybe in the last like 3, 4, 5 years, obviously it's had a longer coming up, I suppose. But I don't know, there's more identity as queer, which is sort of all encompassing as well, which is really nice. So it's less like LGBTQIA+. It's now just queer, so like not necessarily straight, white, cisgendered. And that's really nice because it unifies everyone under the same sort of umbrella. And I think a lot of it comes down to linguistics. You stop seeing people as this. Now it's like, no, we're all together against a certain something.
I think
The patriarchy.
I think at the same time something isn't my personal experience, but I've heard from quite a lot of my female friends who identify as lesbians. They can quite reject the queer label there and see themselves as actually, I think especially maybe slightly more people who kind of who may be a lesbian but perform their gender in a way that is quite conventional. I've experienced people actually finding the label of queer as being something they don't actually want to identify with, something being like, no, I'm, you know, in a kind of every other way perform my gender very traditionally. I just happen to be attracted to people of the same sex as me. But I agree with you that ultimately I'd say that kind of queerness seems to have been a massive unifying force between, you know, people who identify as, you know, gay, straight, bisexual, transgender,
All of it.
all of it, yeah.
That's why I quite like queer though. It just means odd. And I know I met a couple of people, like you said, who was like, "Oh no, I don't like queer. I don't like that word. It means weird. It means," but it's sort of, as when you grow up feeling weird, it's kind of like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, own it. It's like reclaiming it almost, I suppose.
So do you think that like homosexuality is a very westernized thing that's been like more people in the West have more rights than people in the East?
Oh my god, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Oh, we're so fortunate over here. And obviously you can never stop striving for equality, but I mean, you think of countries where they still have the death penalty, and Chechnya, obviously, like, oh my god, like, we are so fortunate at the moment. But then that's why you should use your privilege to actually reach out and try and make a difference in different communities. And stop all this infighting. Yeah.
So how do you think you could progress with gay rights? Because do you feel like there's a long way to go still? Or?
I think visibility is so important in media, music, celebrities. As much as I necessarily don't agree with like, oh, if a celebrity's gay, they should come out. I think it's important for young people to be able to see themselves like doing well in the world, doing well in every walk of life, as opposed to just like, no, these are the people who achieve.
I think in kind of people's, not just, you know, celebrities and people in the media, but I know that when I was growing up, I didn't really have, I guess, like any LGBT role models, in the sense that it would always have been seen, there was kind of a slight taboo about, for example, you know, teachers, doctors, anyone in kind of a position of kind of someone who would be capable of kind of nurturing.
Like a silence.
Yeah, the idea that it would always be kind of completely acceptable to say that, you know, you were married and in a straight relationship, but I think there would have been quite a lot of opposition to, for example, you know, a teacher openly identifying as queer in any way.
I think still,
yeah,
people still cook off about that.
And I think that would have been something that I would have found really, really helpful when I was growing up, if there had been kind of more visible role models to live up to, as opposed to I guess maybe feeling slightly more alienated.
Yeah, and like you said earlier about like fetishization almost, as opposed to seeing in drama all the time, it's like if there's a gay storyline or a queer storyline, it's always about upheaval and total, like everyone being upset all the time and everyone fighting. Just see some people just being happy and living their lives and doing all right.
Yeah, and it being slightly less, I don't know if you consider it kind of portrayal in mainstream media, instead of people's sexuality being kind of the key storyline of, you know, if there was, you know, a same-sex relationship being shown, it just being portrayed as a normal relationship, which kind of has, you know, very, very similar issues and aspects to it as a straight relationship would.
Yeah, like I remember when I was younger, Brittany and Madonna kissing. Always, obviously. And that was like, oh my god, two girls kissing. Or do you remember Tattoo as well?
Yeah.
Like them holding hands, everyone was like, whoa!
And I mean, again, that is another classic
normal,
example of kind of like lesbianism being a part of kind of put under a male gaze. The fact that it then turned out that both of the members of Tattoo were straight, one had a child, and their whole career had basically been built on selling a sexuality that would be appealing to straight men, which I think ultimately, you know, did quite a lot of damage to like lesbian visibility. The fact that, you know, these two women who had kind of been presented as such kind of role models and like presentations of, you know, how a same-sex female relationship could be, it then all turned out to be completely commercialised.
Yeah, bias.
So what are your thoughts on these like gay correction therapy and gay camps?
So many thoughts. I just fucking hate them. I think they're evil. I think they're disgusting. I can understand why parents are scared. They think their child's not going to be happy if they grow up gay, but they think they can change it. But yeah, I mean, I think there are so many studies to prove that it just doesn't work. That also people are so much more likely to kill themselves when they come out of these camps, suffer from depression. Yeah, I just think they're disgusting.
Because I can even understand on the part of people who were actually subjected to gay conversion camps, that really strong desire to wish to be heterosexual. Yeah. I know that when I realised that I was a lesbian, I would have, if I could have changed it, it would have been so much simpler for so many aspects of my life. I mean, especially because I was in a straight relationship, and I can really kind of understand that wish to become heterosexual, but I think ultimately, you know, there's absolutely sexuality isn't a choice. It's going to ultimately just lead to kind of a suppression, which can have so many other negative aspects for people's physical and mental health.
Homophobic politicians who are actually just gay, and then being really homophobic and making it worse. So yeah, don't suppress it.
What do you think about the role of religion in aspect? Obviously, the suicide of gay people is on the rise constantly throughout the UK. Do you think that could be like religion, politics, or the different things merged together? Or?
I find it difficult with the religion because I don't think religion's evil intrinsically. I mean, a lot of problematic things are said in every religious textbook. But I think it's people who read it and take intent from it. They can read what they want out of it, or they can ignore what they want out of it. Because I mean, again, the unifying sort of thing of all religions is be nice to people, and then anything second to that is what you take from it.
At the same time, though, I do think that the fact that certain religions, especially I would say the Church of England, the fact that the Church of England, you know, which is, you know, the official state-sponsored religion of the UK, doesn't allow for sexually active and openly out gay priests and bishops, I think that does really kind of have an impact. The fact that it then makes that what is ultimately kind of quite a homophobic stance really legitimate. The fact that, you know, it is our country's religion, and yet it says that homosexuality is a taboo. I was brought up Christian, and my parents are still Christian. We actually had this conversation recently. That the church that they go to isn't homophobic, but I did say to them, if, you know, the religion that you're a part of as a whole discriminated against, for example, people of colour, but, you know, your particular church didn't, would you still be a member of that branch of Christianity? My parents did actually stop and say, well, no, actually we wouldn't. So I do think I do think it does still kind of have the capability to do
I suppose
that
it's an ideology, it's not a bad thing, but in practice there's
Yeah.
so much wrong with it. Yeah, but I suppose it's just another business. I mean, that's the way I see religion a lot of the time. It's a business, it's there to make people money. But yeah, I mean, that's the problem.
Do you think there's enough awareness about mental health issues among the gay community? Like people not feeling like they can't come out, their family. Do you reckon there's anything more that people could do to kind of show some support? Or do you reckon it's pretty good?
I think we're quite lucky and unlucky at the same time to live like in the age of information where there's so much help online, YouTube, stuff like that, even though YouTube started censoring any videos relevant to gay people, didn't they, recently? You read about that? Yeah. But I mean, there is support out there, it's just, it's really difficult to find sometimes, and if you don't know about it, then you don't know where to look.
I think the two, I'd say, kind of the homophobia that's still quite prevalent in the UK and mental health issues amongst the LGBT community do really go hand in hand. I'd say that if there was less prejudice, then issues surrounding sexuality and coming out wouldn't be so painful and so difficult. So I'd say that the main thing that can be done to change, you know, mental health amongst the LGBTQ community is just to make it more acceptable.
Talk about it.
Yeah,
and
to kind of live visibly and come out in the first place.
Yeah.
I'd say that kind of practically though, it would be good if there was more kind of visibility about different avenues and which people could get support for mental illness, like which.
I mean, mental health in general in this country in particular
Exactly.
is gone to shit. Basically, it's never been that good.
I'd say though that the idea of going to, you know, I don't know, I don't think that many people would be kind of aware of services, for example, inside the NHS that would deal specifically with the LGBTQ community. I feel that if you, to my knowledge, that if you kind of went to your GP, you know, saying that you were maybe suffering from issues like such as depression or anxiety to do with your sexuality, there wouldn't be a specific service.
You get the same treatment.
You get the same treatment as kind of depression resulting from any other sort of trigger or issue. Whereas I think maybe if there was a slightly more kind of specific service.
Yeah. We are very lucky to live in Brighton though, where there's a lot of things out there. So it's quite sheltered here almost. But yeah, growing up, I mean, there was nothing. But I didn't really know about much to do with mental health when I was younger as well. So I can't really comment about the difference between Brighton and anywhere else.
What about physical health? Like, obviously, HIV is quite feared among the gay community. It's higher.
Should be feared everywhere.
Is that something you've ever thought about? Because it's very much aimed at the gay community, isn't it? Like prevention, like practice safe sex.
Which again in Brighton they're really on it. I mean, there's free condoms, lube, which is great everywhere. But yeah, even I'm not on top of it enough really about HIV and physical health. I don't know about you, but the gay community, it doesn't necessarily look after itself very well. But I think that is because there's some underlying sort of identity crisis going on. It's like, where do we fit in society? And obviously that can be quite stressful, and then people lead to self-medicating a lot, so not everyone looks after themselves. But it could be prevented, I think.
I think in terms of sexual health in the lesbian community, the fact that all of the kind of sex education that we get in schools is completely geared around heterosexual sexual relationships. I'd say that there's slightly my kind of experience from talking to other people, and what kind of I'd say the general consensus seems to be is there's a lot less awareness of how to kind of practice safe sex if you in any way kind of deviate from the norm that you've been kind of talked about in school and stuff like that. So I think having that kind of conversation earlier, maybe even before people have started coming out, would be really, really sensible. So kind of I'd say more sex education in school that was less kind of geared around heterosexuality and
sexuality,
exactly.
But yeah, definitely in sex education. I mean, I learned everything I know about sex from either watching porn or having it, which is not a true representation of sex. I mean, how often do you see before porn they talk about like, oh, have you been checked recently? Shall I put a condom on? All of that. I mean, never. I've never seen that happen. So yeah, it's not a healthy way to learn about sex, and the way it should be done is in schools with responsibility, accountability.
So do you think being gay is a biological thing or psychological, or maybe both?
I used to have quite a contentious viewpoint on this. I used to actually think like, when people was like, oh, like, it's alright, you're gay, I used to be like, no, I chose this, I choose being gay, I like being gay. But I think that was just trying me to throw off like, no, I like this life. But I mean, now I'm pretty sure it's wholly biological.
I'd say to a certain extent that can be a maybe slightly reductive conversation to have by kind of trying to find such a root of kind of someone's sexuality, of either kind of trying to prove it biologically or find some kind of psychological basis for it. It is in some way, I'd say, either saying that it's something that needs to be justified, that there needs to be a reason why, a concrete reason, as opposed to it just being something that should be seen as just completely acceptable, exactly the same as having any other
preference.
Exactly.
No,
So I think that a lot of kind of those very well funded studies that are being carried out at present to a certain extent are kind of quite problematic in the sense that I don't feel that someone's sexuality,
read a conclusive one, do you?
Exactly, and I just don't think that anyone's sexuality is something that needs to be kind of proven or justified. There should be absolutely no stigma or kind of need for evidence.
Yeah, when you don't
Either way.
question someone's favourite colour or music taste, they're just like what they like.
Yeah, exactly.